trusting one's instincts. If something doesn't feel right, then we are asking them to remove themselves from the situation and to alert police by calling 911. A lot of people are concerned with using 911 to alert police, but in this particular area, 911 is the number to call to have a police response, so your situation does not need to be a dire emergency. Students can often become targets for those who want to do harm, and as a part of staying safe, we want students to monitor their intake of alcohol and watch out for their friends who have been drinking. Don't leave students alone, and if you're concerned about the welfare of a student, again, please alert authorities by calling 911. Our first priority is their health and safety. And lastly, if there is anything suspicious or concerning, we'd much rather be called in advance and respond to discover that it's nothing than to have an incident occur and someone victimized. So we are asking for the public's help by reaching out to us more frequently. Thank you.
Podium that was designed for Craig Littlepage rather than me. You all probably know that late last evening I sent an alert email to all students. I think that comprises a little over 23,000 email addresses that we have, talking about 3 instances that have occurred between the dates of September 17 and September 19. And I'll be brief about this, but the first on September 17, as I note in the email to students, involved a University of Virginia student being attacked from behind and knocked to the ground as she walked to her residence on Chancellor Street at approximately 1:15 a.m., at which time we believe that she was sexually assaulted. The next incident occurred the following day, September 18, at about 1:30 in the morning, when a male student behind the Bank of America was physically assaulted, was attacked from the side and knocked to the ground with a punch to his neck for reasons that we believe are based on sexual orientation. The following day, on the 19th, we had a young woman who was at a fraternity house party, was pushed into a pantry and knocked to the ground by an assailant. She screamed. Other women opened the door to the pantry, and the assailant fled without having had the opportunity, as far as I understand now, to have sexually assaulted her, although we perceive that that was the intent. That doesn't occurred, but it appears that a sexual assault did not. I know that one of the questions that I've gotten from a few people today, so I'll address that and walk through that, is the timeline in terms of the university's knowledge when things came to light, and then the timing of the decision to send the email last night. Let me begin by saying something fairly generally, and that is there is always some degree of tension in the work that we do between deciding when to put something out to students or a broader community and when we feel that we have adequate facts to make an intelligent statement that people can rely upon, rather than making a statement based on rumor or innuendo or very incomplete information. And I also need to distinguish between alerts that the university police might trigger through Chief Gibson and emails that I might send from a safety and security perspective to students generally. Let me first talk about the issue with the sexual assault that occurred on or near Chancellor. The incident, as I said, occurred late in the evening or early in the morning of September 16, 17. Around noon on the 17th, Lori Castine, who's one of my associate deans in the office, received an email forwarded to her by another administrator coming from a student who indicated that as part of a group project, she would not be able to complete the project because a sorority sister had come home early that morning injured and with some blood and some vomit on her and banging on the door of the house. That email was immediately forwarded to Mike Citro and Meg Schomburger. Mike is my assistant dean and director of fraternity and sorority life, and Meg is his program coordinator. At about 1:30 in the afternoon on the 17th, that same day, Mike Citro responded that they had reached out to the president of that sorority to try to find out what facts were known that we might be able to then begin acting upon. The information that received initially did not necessarily indicate that there had been a sexual assault, but rather that there may have been a stranger attack. On September the 20th, Nicole Aramo, who is here in the back, is one of my associate deans, and Nicole has responsibility in my office for sexual assault, outreach, education, and adjudication. She received an email from an academic colleague indicating basically that, again, there had been some type of assault and that there might be a need for an academic accommodation. Dean Aramo then again began to reach out to see if we could get this particular student to speak with us and to go over the details with us about what may have happened, and also to offer all the resources that we had available to assist the student. I will say, still at this point, there was some confusion in the reports we were getting about whether there was one incident or two that I have explained to you are in fact two, and where in fact those were distinguished. On September 21, Mike Citro, Meg Schomburger, Associate Dean Castine, and Associate Dean Aramo had a meeting, still again without direct knowledge about what may have happened or whether indeed there was an assault, and trying to find out what may have happened. Dean Aramo contacted the Charlottesville police on that day, on the 21st, but were not able to obtain any information. The Charlottesville police said they were investigating, but were not in a position to tell us whether there had been an assault or a sexual assault at that point. Dean Aramo conferred with the university police to find out what they might be able to offer to us as well, so that we could determine whether or not a sexual assault had indeed occurred in that setting. There was a house meeting with the sorority that was arranged. We made university police and the counseling center available to the women in the house to talk about what had happened and what we might be able to do to support them. That meeting occurred on September 23rd, Nicole, if I'm right? Thank you. On September 27th was the first time that Dean Aramo heard directly from the victim. And the victim responded to the efforts we had made at outreach and said that she was now willing and in a position to come talk to us about what may have happened. That meeting was to have taken place yesterday, but the young woman called and had to cancel that meeting and has rescheduled it with Dean Aramo. As of yesterday morning, I was still hoping that that meeting was going to take place yesterday so that we would have more direct information about what had occurred and be in a better position to understand and then speak to the student body about what may have happened. Certainly by last evening, despite the fact that that personal meeting had not taken place, I believed, after conferring with Lieutenant Fielding and others, that we had enough information to feel comfortable going forward publicly, even though, to my knowledge, the Charlottesville police had not yet classified this as a sexual assault. But we believe that we had enough, even though it wasn't our investigation, it was the Charlottesville police, to be able to notify students. The other incident that I mentioned about the student being pushed into the pantry at a fraternity house, again, we still have very incomplete information and are trying to obtain what we can about that. At this point in time, I don't know what fraternity house that was. I also don't have, quite frankly, the name of the young woman that was pushed into the pantry. What I know is that on Monday, September the 20th, Susan Garson, who works in Vice President Pat Lampkin's office, had received a telephone call that morning from the mother of a student who recounted to her that an incident had occurred involving a female student being pushed into the pantry, having screamed, and other young women opening the door, and this assailant running away and getting a description of the assailant. Based on the information she was provided, she was told that the women that were present and the men that were present did not recognize who that was, did not know him to be a student, other than the fact that the age seemed to fit the profile of what a student might be. The parent at that point was given